Good morning, everyone. This is the Vermont House Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. It is Wednesday, January 21st, 2026 at 10:17 in the morning. We're back to continue our walkthroughs of members' bills. And so we have Representative Arsenault with us this morning. Welcome, Representative.
Thank you.
We're looking at H 650, an act relating to educational technology products. And
Yes.
co-sponsored by Vice Chair Green.
Yes. Hi,
Welcome.
everyone. Thank you. Angela Arsenault, representative from Williston, for the record. Yeah, I'm here to talk about H 650, and it's sort of a continuation of, I think last year around this same time, I was here to talk about H 365, which is a bill that's still on your wall that is also co-sponsored by myself and Representative Granning. If you recall that, and if you don't, that's okay, that the goal of that bill is to create a registry for social media and AI products. And over the session and summer and fall, Edie and I were talking, and Representative Granning and I were talking, and really felt that it was important to expand that idea to include education technology products, or what are commonly referred to as ed tech. So this would cover things like, I can't think of a name that a lot of people will know, but I'll tell you that schools are filled with products that are digital or online, internet-based products that are being used as educational tools, or so they're sold to be. But these products, for the most part, have never been vetted by non-industry vetting standards. So everything that comes into schools under the guise of ed tech, of course, there's a proprietor saying, this is going to help kids. This is going to help kids in this way. This is going to improve literacy skills. This is going to increase fact fluency in mathematics or something like that. But for the most part, these products, there's no standard and there's no requirement that they are proven to be legal, safe, or effective. So the idea behind the registry, as we shared last year, is that similar to our data broker registry, companies that own these products, create these products, sell these products, offer them for free. And as we know, nothing is actually ever free. So I'll back up one step. These products, and you are all more aware of the data privacy issues than most people in the country. I won't even just say in this building. These products that have infiltrated schools on a massive scale are like data vacuums. They are just sucking up student data and selling it, using it to, and if they're not selling it, oftentimes they're using student data to establish patterns, about each individual student, and using those patterns to surveil students and eventually market directly to students in some cases. Some of the products include advertisements. So all of this is to say, this is a wildly unregulated market. And what's worse, these products are not improving educational outcomes. In fact, the data shows that the opposite is happening. So in 2016 in Vermont, we reached a kind of nexus or crossover point where that was the year that for the first time, there were more computers in schools for student use than there were students in schools in Vermont. So it's just been this flood of tech products into schools. Failure of the Chromebook on the open market turned out to be a really great thing for Google because someone said, aha, let's just shove them into schools. We will offer them for very low price. We'll give one to each student. Everyone will have their own Chromebook, which schools took as like, wow, amazing. And even I, as a naive parent, was like, sat down with my kid at their 9th grade meeting before they, started the school year, and they hand them a box with a fresh Chromebook and say, this is yours, which should have been my first indication that something wasn't quite right. So they're essentially becoming Google customers against their will, at a very young age, and Google can follow them from that very young age and do all kinds of things with the information that they're able to glean. So the registry is a way for us to say, in order to do business in Vermont, and in this case, in Vermont schools, you, company that makes these products, have to attest, you have to register and attest annually to meeting the following criteria. And the criteria is laid out in the bill. For example, to be certified, we've asked the Secretary of State to set up this registry because we spoke with the Secretary of State's office this fall. They hold the data broker registry, and they said they would have the ability, that certainly the technical capabilities, to establish and manage such a registry. Personnel may become an issue. FTE may become an issue with all the things that we are asking the Attorney General's office and Secretary of State's office to do related to data and tech regulation, but that's probably part of a bigger conversation. But just as an example, some of the things that the Secretary of State shall consider when developing the certification standards for educational technology products, it would be things like the product's compliance with state curriculum standards, advantages of using the product compared with non-digital methods, whether the product was explicitly designed for educational use. And then we've incorporated, some of the aspects of kids code and data privacy bills. So design features of the product, geolocation tracking, use of AI, targeted ads, personalized recommendation systems, access to adults unknown to a student. All of these sorts of things we've directed the Secretary of State to consider when formulating the standards for these products. Then there's actually a bunch more. The Secretary of State holds that registry, administers, handles the fee, and you can all we put in a fee of $100 to register. You can, of course, do what you will with any of this, but I'd like to see it a little bit higher, probably. The Attorney General's office handles enforcement. And one of the main goals of this particular registry would be for it to serve as a place for school leaders, administrators, teachers, parents to go to look and see if the products that their kids are encountering, or if the products that they're deciding to bring into their classrooms have been vetted and are safe for students. The bill does say that schools may not use products that are not on the registry, but we also built in a transition window. So schools would still be allowed to use products they're using now that may not make the registry through, I think it's June 30th, 2027. So we built in some time. The problem of ed tech, as I said, you all are so familiar with many of the problems baked into these types of products. Obviously not a creation of schools and teachers and administrators. Some other states are trying to handle the problem of ed tech by placing that burden on schools and expecting that schools and teachers can vet these products, and they simply can't. They're changing super fast, and it requires a level of, as you all know now, a level of understanding and expertise, technical knowledge that I don't think it's reasonable for us to expect teachers to acquire that level of knowledge So we wanted to come up with something that takes that burden off of schools. And with the registry, it becomes a state held endeavor that resource really for schools and parents. I'll pass it on to you now.
Thanks.
Representative Granning.
Representative Granning, Congressman McDowell, Jericho. Just to add two pieces of information. A lot of the ed tech companies say that engagement is the goal. Student engagement is the goal. And that's not educating. We need them to be educating, not simply engaging students. And so that's really important. And that's not listed here, but they list that as one of their main criteria. The other thing is we're talking a lot about cost to property taxes and cost for schools. And right now, schools are spending significant dollars to middle parties to vet their education technology. So you have these middle parties that are getting a lot of money from lots of different schools to do the exact same work over and so they're not doing any extra work. They're just raking in money, our tax dollars, to vet these products that aren't actually teaching kids. So this would hit some of the problems that we have in our state in a lot of different ways.
And I think a lot of those middle parties, the vettors are often have industry ties. A lot of I can't remember the acronym now, but the group that is often quoted as sort of putting their stamp of it. I'll have to come up with the FERPA. Yes. No, it's like ISTA approved or something.
The housekeeping seal.
Exactly. Yes. And they are, funded by Google and Microsoft and Amazon. And there's just very little independence in this field. And it really doesn't mean a lot when they
reports look at this type of technology. I wonder.
That's a good question.
Right.
Not that I'm aware of. It's a good question.
One, disappointed you didn't come to me on this one because I would have signed on in a heartbeat.
We didn't come to anyone.
Yeah, I knew.
You're like, let's get in there. Let's get into the committee.
That being said, could we throw in there a requirement to prove a study require a study to be done on the product that it doesn't cause cognitive delay, which we know screen time does. This is great. It's protecting our children and from companies that may mean well, not realizing that, or maybe they do realize that it causes cognitive delay, including the Chromebooks, which I hate in our schools. I love it. Yes, I don't know if that's clear. But the real question for you is, because you know how hard it was for cell phones. You would have to work just as hard, if not harder, because I think the pushback on this would be significantly worse than the cell phones.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting perspective. I think we can talk more about that. To take a burden off of schools and require the company to show that they are actually benefiting students and have a place in our curriculum, I think is something that schools would appreciate. So, and a place to actually have families be able to respond to these organizations because they are using the data and they are getting the emails and the students are, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. So I hope that that's not the case.
I just think of a lot of the agencies that fought against it. I just think that you're right at first. I just think that there will be some significant, but I know how you work with that. And And that would be amazing to get this over the finish line.
Yeah, I think I have another bill that hasn't been introduced yet that is an opt-out bill, which I will say opt-out bill, meaning that it creates a law that says that anyone, caregivers or parent, students who want to opt out of ed tech must be allowed to do so and still provided a full education. That is actually still, that would still be on schools where teachers have to potentially design to lesson plans. In this case, we really are taking it off of schools, and granted, there'd be some work to do if some of the products they've been using aren't actually eligible for the registry. But there's a transition period and there would be notice, and there'd be very good reason for those products to not be on the registry. It would mean they're not safe for kids. So they shouldn't have, a lot of the phone-free schools, some of the phone-free schools, testimony downstairs in education. I remember Representative Brady, who is a high school teacher, saying, it's so frustrating that tech has been forced on us. We've been encouraged to go in this direction, and now we're having to deal with dialing it back. And I think this bill actually acknowledges that, because we're not asking teachers and administrators themselves to do the dialing back necessarily. We're saying this needs to be done at a state level. It needs to be transparently done. And hopefully we're helping schools, not creating an additional burden. And I'll also say, The Digital Delusion, an incredible book if you all haven't heard of it, but it goes into depth with tons of studies and data about how these products have actually harmed kids' educational outcome and their cognitive development.
So I want to understand the sort of flow, and I think this is how I'm reading it, is that a Secretary of State would publish standards. They would publish this is, and then the company would self-certify and check boxes, whatever. They would register with the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State would hold the data. And then if there's an identified problem, like we don't think that your self-certification is like we disagree, the Attorney General could bring an action with the company. Is that kind of correct? And then the schools could look at the registry to determine, okay, this product is on the registry, so we can use it. And then if they see, oh gosh, this is problematic, we don't see an educational benefit, the recourse would be to ask the Attorney General to get involved. Is that right? Kind of how I read it. Right. That makes sense to me, in that it doesn't stand up a whole new program. It just creates a way to know what is being used and to very transparently be able to apply analysis, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That makes a lot of sense to me as a way to approach it. So,
Yeah, I'll just add one thing. The Secretary of State isn't going to do an evaluation.
right, they just hold the data. No, I understand. They publish the standards, but then they just hold that because
And it's up to the company
Yeah.
to show the standards. And
Right. And then it's up to the Attorney General. The Secretary of State also is not going to analyze any of that. The Attorney General could bring an action. Okay.
And it's, as we said with the social media and AI registry, it really it identifies the universe
Yeah.
of products that may need to be regulated.
Do you have any sense of how many products are being used?
So,
yes.
I mean, even the backboards.
yesterday or today?
Yeah, and we wouldn't, and I think
know, I would like
we
to,
were
but-
specific about, in the definitions, you'll see that we're not talking about, sadly, probably in this case, we're not necessarily talking about something like Power School, which is a student management system, which we do need to talk about, but and you could add it, but like here, we're talking about, the way it's defined so far is that they are products that are student facing. How do I try to read without my glasses? Any student facing software application or platform that may collect, process, or transmit student data, and that is used for teaching and learning purposes in a school.
So I'm hugely skeptical around using this type of technology in the schools, a lot of specific, but just generally in terms of the distraction about what's really going on with teaching. As well as, privacy issues and things like that. You have the Secretary of State developing standards for certification. Frankly, I was reading the bill to have a more active role by the Secretary of State in deciding if the product is certified or not. So I'm not
They
sure.
hold data. They don't.
Yeah,
They don't.
yeah. That might need to be clarified, because I read it different. I'm just wondering, no offense to the Secretary of State, did you think of any other agencies that might maybe have a little more expertise about this kind of stuff and this, in terms of education, in terms of
Yeah, I mean,
that's the sort of
there's probably a role for the Agency of Education to develop
Yeah, I
a
agree.
form.
yeah,
And so probably they could develop it together.
yeah.
Yeah, I think certainly, in consultation with,
Yeah.
when we're talking about developing this.
All sorts of language about
Yeah.
the relationships.
Yeah. But we really wanted to, having the Secretary of State as the, holder of the registry, in our mind, puts it on par with the data broker registry in a sense.
Yeah.
Even though I know you all are doing work on improving the data broker registry, and in our meeting with the Secretary of State's office, they pointed out, it's not like Vermonters are checking out the data broker registry and see, and sure, but our vision for this registry in particular would be that it would be quite, it would be accessed by Vermonters and used, it's a great resource, could be a great
Yeah,
resource.
I totally get the registry issue. I just want to make sure that certification process is handled right.
Yes,
It's-
absolutely.
It's well done.
Yep. And we think of the attestation, and the registry as I said, as a user agreement with the state of Vermont. Flipping the script on the typical user agreements that we all accept without an option to not accept, and without really understanding what we're agreeing to.
Jonathan?
Thank you. I sort of had the same, I think a similar reading to Representative Olson about what appeared to be like sort of judgment calls with the Secretary of State about how we compare digital versus non-digital methods. And will the Secretary of State need to rely on the same middle parties or similar middle parties that are currently sort of occupying that space? I'm guessing now, and this is the question I have, who is currently vetting these? Is it school boards, the supervisory unions? Like, from whom is this, from whom would this be taking this decision-making authority?
Yeah, I can answer that a little bit from my school board seat. It's not school boards. It's either teachers, mostly it's teachers. In some districts, they have IT that has taken over and has a list for teachers to be able to use. In other districts, it's not. So it's variable. There is no clear way to ensure right now that what is happening in our schools is that products that our students are using are not harmful to students or are not taking advantage of our student data.
That variability seems like it's rife for all the confusion that's sort of setting in that you're describing. So that makes sense to me. I'm sorry, Representative Granning, I didn't mean to cut you off, please.
No. I mean, there are some federal protections for student data, but it's pretty limited, and it's been a lot looser than we would like to believe.
I will say that just in the last couple of years, many districts have had to backtrack on their technology agreements. We all have to fill out, beginning of every year, every caregiver has to fill out forms saying, that you grant, well, you didn't actually have to grant permission before for your student to use a number of products. Very recently, through a lawsuit, because of a lawsuit, many districts had to backtrack and send out an additional notification to families saying, oops, we didn't realize you actually have to affirmatively consent to your student using Google additional services. So those are things like YouTube, Google Earth, Google Translate. So they had to backtrack and gain this additional consent. And I have kids who go to, a home high school and then 2 different technical centers. So I have filled out 3 different districts forms in Power School, and every district does it differently. The language for every district that I've encountered is different. Burlington School District said, don't even worry about YouTube. You don't have to grant access to that because we are disabling it on all school issued devices, K through 12. And then Essex School District said, if you don't let your kid use this, that's okay, as long as you know that you might be impairing your child's education. So really, it runs the gamut. And it just depends on maybe the person in the tech department or who knows, but it's the Wild West.
Thank you.
Last question, Emily.
I am actually, don't worry about it. I think it's mostly answered. And I will talk to you after if I need to.
I have so many questions, but the one I'm going to choose is, so in 2020, the legislature passed the Students' Online Personal Information Protection Act, which already puts a advertising for schools. And for speaking just around the Privacy Act, like I had one vendor who his actually like they passed, but I mean, they like passed it at strict standards, but they were in like 5 schools before a school gave them the vendor agreement that they're required to sign by Vermont law. So I'm just like, I'm curious if you see this as like this inventory being able to have somebody enforce the fact that we already have state law barring a lot of the stuff that you're outlining in this thing.
Yeah, I have a really short answer.
Yeah.
I mean, a registry allows the secretary or the attorney general to actually make sure that these laws are being enforced. And without a registry, we don't even know, because we have so many different schools and so many different districts and so many different classrooms with it, right?
Yeah.
We can't even track that right now. So
Yeah.
this would give us the tools that we need to make sure that our kids are
Yeah, because probably schools, from everything you said, are already violating the
Yes.
state law
without
from
even
2020. Yeah,
Violating so many laws.
Yeah.
Without knowing it.
yeah,
Yeah, and definitely not intentionally.
yeah.
Yeah, I see it as buttressing that. That's it.
Real quick.
No, I know somebody who knows somebody, but need to follow up on my question.
I don't know that we'll take this up. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of interest.
You're being sarcastic.
I was about to throw that.
I was about to make a motion.
Flip the table.
So, Angel, thank you. Thank you for your push last year on getting rid of cell phone.
Thank you
That's
all.
made, I think,
Yeah.
I'm hearing a lot, and in the kingdom, my area, teachers are pretty pleased with it. School board members are pretty pleased. I think it's gonna make a whole lot of difference to our kids, so.
Thank you. I think that this committee's interest in that bill was a real injection of energy at a crucial time last session that really helped get that bill over the finish line. So thank you all.
Yeah. Representative Burt. Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about page 668.
Yes, for the record, Greg Burt, representative for Cabot, Danville, and Peachum. Just pull up my screen here for you, Bill. Yeah, I had Ledge Council draft up this bill, Cameron Wood, based on concerns that I had personally with subscriptions online specifically, and then hearing about some lawsuits that had gone in against Amazon. And I'm sure there are other companies out there that do similar things, but I was just wanting to see if our state could provide another level of protection to our citizens regarding online subscriptions. And so I had Cameron Wood draft this up, and it basically took language that was in statute and tried to tailor it a little bit more toward, it just needs some updates really to be tailored to the current systems that are in place with online subscriptions. And I think there's a little bit more work that needs to be done on the language myself, to maybe make it more of a even more tailored to the current system. But it basically took near the beginning of the bill, it takes language that was speaking of contracts that were year long and then changes that to that word year to month. And then likewise down through it's changing it from year-long subscriptions to month-long. And then, but the most important language that I wanted to make sure was in there, that it's however easy it is to subscribe to a monthly subscription, that it's just as easy to get out. And that's the hook that I saw happening in my own interaction with these subscriptions was I literally could not find a way to get out of the subscription with Amazon.
Right.
And my wife eventually did, and I don't know how long it took her to do it, but I mean, I consider myself to be fairly tech savvy. I can't imagine my dad trying to do the same thing. And so I just want to make sure consumers are protected. And, you know, obviously it would take, I'm assuming, a lot of work from someone like Charity Clark to make sure that, you know, our consumers were protected to the level of somebody like Amazon in our, affecting our people. But that's the basic idea. You know, I'd love to see this bill go someplace, just because it's a small win for our state. I think if we could do it, but I'm not. This isn't in my wheelhouse, so I'm sure there's some work that needs to be done on it to craft it the right way. I'd love to, if you have any interest in that, to see that happen. So, but that's it basically.
I just want to support this. I actually ran into the Amazon situation. I had I guess I somehow had signed up for Prime, even though I thought I had, got disconnected Prime. And then I saw a post on LinkedIn about somebody posting about how it seemed like the patterns that have been happening lately should be violations of consumer protection. And I was like, wait a second. I should probably check if my account is somehow was opted in and I didn't realize, and it was. And then, it was 5 steps to figure out how to, and I am very tech savvy. So to find the little links to find it was ridiculous, and it was about to renew and I didn't even have any idea. So yeah, I support this. Yeah. Go.
I just thank you for bringing this to us. It is also, yes, very annoying. And it also reminds me of trying to unsubscribe from an email as well. It takes
Let's do that too.
38 steps to try to do that. And anyway, but I was looking up because I had remembered that there had been a click to cancel at the federal level, but it also looks like that rule has been,
It's got reintroduced.
It has been reintroduced. I guess it got taken away, it got reintroduced. So I just wanted to express my appreciation, because I think at the very least, having something at the state level would be very helpful.
Yeah.
Particularly if things start vacillating at the federal level too.
Yeah. And like I said, feel free, to take this and run with it, as you would anyway. But I mean, I just, like I said, it's not my wheelhouse. Cameron got it started, but I feel that even there's one part about, because it was originally designed for a year-long contract. There is some language here that I think needs to be worked on in terms of, there's some language that mentions 60 days. Well, it's when it's a 1-month contract. If it's you might need to take that down to, 30 days or 15 days or whatever. So anyway, I think it does need some work and it needs some tailoring, but I think the idea is here, and just want to see our consumers protected.
Yeah, so thanks for bringing this up. The 2 core concepts, I think, reducing the year-long, year is a long time in terms of fees, monthly expenses and stuff, and making it a little easier to unsubscribe to some Billy Messer's. I'm not always well tech savvy. I try to do some of this stuff and it's hard. It just falls over to the next year.
I love the idea and I think that, I think you can go even further. And one of the things that's always bothered me about this is coercion. In that you subscribe to something, you're like, well, you need to call this 800 number to cancel. And then you call and then they say, well, what if we drop the price? No. Well, what if we drop it even more? No. Well, what if we give it to you for another month free? That needs to stop. That, so I'm totally.
Would this also apply to things like gym memberships? Do you think?
Well, I think in here it's pretty generalized, so it could
Any contract.
be any 1 month long subscription or contract, but.
Just.
Yeah, I guess
So it
that was
could be-
really my question is like, is it just online or are we talking about physical?
Yeah, I think this is pretty generic. It's any contract of 1 month.
Sounds like if you subscribe online, you like to a gym, they can make you come in person. You have to be able to.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Technically, this I don't think would be even based on doing so online. It might be another form of, if you went into a gym and filled out something by paper and handed it to them and then it went online. I think it's as far as I know, this is the language in here makes it pretty broad.
If I appreciate the necessity to continue modernizing our laws, right? Like, I mean, I'm looking at this and maybe the length of time specification should be eliminated completely and it's any auto renewing membership. Because who knows what the next iteration of that will be. And we'll have to talk to legislative council and all of that, but I think that, I think it's, again, we've all talked about it, how hard it is to sign out and how every single one of us has tried to cancel a contract and it's taken hours. And it's.
And just like on Amazon, I use Prime quite a bit. It's like you can have your deodorant come at certain intervals, right? And that's basically a subscription. And I don't know if that interval could be weekly or, so yeah, getting rid of the language about time frame. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Give you a little history. So help write this bill.
Okay.
Or write this statute. What happened to me was there was a company, a laundry company that would come to my store. I was contracted with them to provide rags and carpets and stuff for the store. And had to sign a contract, and the contract was a 10-year contract, auto renewed, and you had to let them know 6 months in advance if you're gonna cancel your whole month.
Wow.
And
The
so
laundry companies.
that was the nexus with auto renew and why we put this in. And it was more for paper contracts, and so I think it's time for us to take another look at it. We were looking at contracts, at least a year or more, just auto renew, anything that auto renewed. The person that was chairing the Senate side of economic development was bent on monthly renewals. That's all you can have with monthly renewals, no more anything longer than a month. So that's what we wound up with. So I think it's time for us to probably revisit and upgrade the statute so that it's more in line with the world the way it is now. And thank you for bringing it to us. I appreciate it. It's time for us to look at it again. But I think what it did was also cost some dollars too, because you can get a year subscription on Paramount or anything that you can in Vermont. It has to be monthly, and you save money by taking a year subscription. over a
Really?
monthly
I
subscription.
didn't realize.
Yeah.
Varies.
So
That's fascinating.
there's benefits of taking a longer subscription if that's what you want, but it's
Mhm.
definitely up to the customer. of what they want. We shouldn't be dictating the length of time that they can purchase them.
One thing is about the deceptive practices that they engage in with the cancellations, like things like broken pages or broken links and making it impossible to actually go and do the thing.
I think what I'd like to do is bring Chris Curtis in. We haven't talked to him this year about the consumer CAP agency, consumer advocacy program at UVM.
Oh, yeah.
Find out how many consumer systems program, thank you. To see how many people have complained about those issues. I don't know if anybody even thinks about calling CAP agency that where it takes you a year and a day to get out of a 30-day contract, right? So good. Thank you, Representative. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you giving me some time. Thanks.
Probably want to come up. Yeah. Anybody want to work on this one?
If we have time, I mean, we're stacking up a lot of stuff.
I think, some of these fixes would be pretty quick.
Yeah, I think we should do it.
I mean, there's a lot of these bills.
I've been to talk with Cameron.
Yeah.
Maybe what first thing you do is bring him in and just have that conversation with him about how do we, or you can talk to him, how do we update this now so it's relevant to the internet as well as, paper contracts.
Emily, I'll connect you with some consumer protection folks too to help with that.
Okay.
Thank you. What?
Anybody sing?
That is.
The last time
I was gonna say, yeah. I feel like, yeah, please, yeah.
You want me to dance? I
Yeah.
can do interpretive.
Yeah, no, please. Are we still live? We're still live. Please do it.
Sing our skit.
Yeah, no,
That's okay. It's not the worst thing I've done.
this is a final reading moment for sure. Please take your moment to shine.
You haven't looked at my campaign page and all the wonderful videos I've posted.
Oh,
Remember where
But like I said,
No, we checked.
I'm perfectly fine with what I say.
Shame over here.
No shame whatsoever.
was in a meeting and we had some time when we were waiting for people to join. And I asked if anybody could sing, and one of the people there started singing, and they're professionally trained. It's like this lovely, best way to start the day.
Private concert. I'm sorry. I feel like you need to do that balloons, and you can make us balloon animals.
I can do
And
it.
I know you can. That's what I'm saying. You should bring in materials so that you can
College.
make us hats.
Jay started
Do you
playing.
want me to do it now?
Yeah.
I do have. Oh,
Representative Shaw, how are you?
Plan time?
You are.
Did you want me to sit here?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for coming.
Pardon me? We were just patiently waiting.
Oh, I had to get out of another meeting to come, so I have to switch my whole head around, but are we live?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we did the walkthrough yesterday.
Oh, you did?
We did.
Okay.
We wanted to have you come in and just kind of give us your reasoning.
Okay. Great. Okay. So I'm Robin Shy. I'm from Addison One District in Middlebury, and I'm also the chair of the House Appropriations Committee, and I very rarely do bills on my own. I am not one of those people. So I did this bill because it was something important to me. And someday I'll tell you the shocking information I got when I did my DNA testing with Ancestry. It's like one of those stories you hear on the news. So I've been interested in this. And I also, after I learned what I learned on Ancestry, I did 23andMe. And so I was checking out information. And then, of course, we've been hearing all the information about 23andMe about to go bankrupt. And one of the things that we've also heard along the way, in the last couple of years, they've used DNA from Ancestry or to find murderers and to find criminals. So that people have access to this. And when you sign up, you're told sort of, if you can figure it out, that your information will be kept private and all of that. But with the collapse of 23andMe and then the subsequent sale to, they filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy in March of last year. And then they had a significant data breach, and then they were sold to a research institute. So the question is then what happens to everybody's genetic data in there? And in the wrong hands, bad things can happen to people. So this bill, which you heard from Ledge Council, great, the sort of high level, it limits data sharing. It allows consumers to access their own data. It provides very clear, complete, and easily accessible information to the people who use it, to those of us who have submitted our DNA, about what their any genetic testing company's policies and procedures are for using and safeguarding the data, so you know what's going on. It also requires genetic testing companies to obtain consumers' consent for each of several items. So you have to agree to each thing, not a big blanket thing, because maybe you like 8 of the 10 things, but you don't like the other 2, but this forces them to have you agree to each thing. So this is a consumer protection bill. It also prohibits, this to me is one of the big ones, prohibits genetic testing companies from disclosing a consumer's data to insurance companies such as health, life, long-term care, disability, or to another employer. So that's been, I think, a big fear that many of us have had all along. If you have a genetic issue, which obviously DNA testing can show up, certain genetic things can show up in there, more than whether you have blue eyes or brown eyes or whatever, but things that might matter to an insurance company could really affect your ability to get insurance. So one thing to have a couple of genetic testing companies that we know about, but then when they start to fail and other people take them, then you worry about what's going to happen to your data. So really that was the prompting with this. I had talked to Todd in the AG's office about this. I'd sent emails to you, Chair Marcotte, and to Representative Priestley over the years, because I know you've been dealing with data privacy issues, but the genetic one is kind of a specific one for specific reasons. And so that's why I felt it needed its own bill. So that's kind of what it's about.
Any questions for Chair Shaw?
Did the walkthrough make sense and everything else? I wish I'd been here for the walkthrough, but
Yeah, we did get a walkthrough.
good.
And one of the things I think we noticed was the similarity between what you're proposing. I mean, not exact and stuff, but
Yeah.
a lot of the other bills that we're considering deal with the same subject matter and actually talk about, genetic testing.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see. We still need to parse out, different.
Right. Well, does it need to be its own bill or combined with other? But I think as long as the data, the information, the protections are there, that to me is the big thing, is that we really need to
have the protections for people
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah. Great.
So, yeah. It was tripartisan. The co-sponsors were from everywhere, so.
Questions? No, you don't have much to do, so
Me?
you're more than welcome to hang out with us.
Oh, I would love to hang out with you all, but I do have this budget adjustment bill I need to go back and.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that, you know.
Get off.
I didn't get it all the way through this year.
I'll throw $5.
We have a place to spend it, so thank you. All right, thanks for having me in and thanks for all the work you guys are doing too. It's all important. Okay, take care.
Why don't we go offline until Representative Rachel makes her way here? So she's doing 11:15, so people need to run to the restroom or get something to drink, and we'll be back here by quarter after.